Laid on the table of the Senate today are the following: Ministry Paper number 91 of 2018, and the Independent Commission of Investigations first quarterly report dated January to March 2018, Ministry Paper number 92 of 2018, and annual report of the General Legal Counsel for the year 2016-2017, Green Paper number 3 of 2018, entitled National Policy for Environmentally Sound Management of Hazardous Waste, dated December 2018. The Independent Commission of Investigation second quarterly report for 2018, annual report on audited financial statements of the Electoral Commission of Jamaica for the year 2016-2017, annual report of the Nutrition Products Limited for the year 2016-2017, annual report of the Overseas Examination Commission for the year 2016-2017, the Jamaica Gazette number 90, proclamation 15 of 2018, relating to state of public emergency in specified areas of Kingston, fiscal policy paper for the year 2018-2019, interim report, and the first supplementary estimates of expenditure for the year 2018-2019, and public bodies' first supplementary estimates of revenue and expenditure for 2018-2019. Thank you.
Bills brought from the Honorable House of Representatives.
The following is a message from the Speaker of the House of Representatives to the Honorable Senate. I also have the honor to advise the Honorable Senate that on the 25th day of September 2018, a bill entitled An Act to Validate and Confirm as Lawful the Financial Institutions Vesting of Assets in the Pan-Caribbean Merchant Bank Limited Order 2000, dated the 6th day of June 2000, and for connected matters, was passed in the House of Representatives without amendment.
Mr. President, may I get your permission to speak from a seat? That's not my...
Yeah, thank you, Minister.
Okay. And President, may I, on behalf of the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade and Leader of Government Business in the Senate, signify her willingness to take charge of the bill.
Thank you.
A bill shortly entitled The Financial Institutions Vesting of Assets in Pan-Caribbean Merchant Bank Limited, Order 2000, Validation Act 2018, read a first time.
Mr. President, I'd like to beg to give notice of second reading of the bill.
Thank you, Minister.
Mr. President, can I ask for the recommittal of announcement?
The question is that the item designated announcements be recommitted. Those in favor? Against? Go ahead, Minister. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Also laid on the table of the House today are the Emergency Powers Number 3 Regulations 2018 under the Emergency Powers Act.
Thank you very much. Petitions, papers, reports from committees, notices of motions given orally, questions and answers to questions, motions that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice, motions relating to the sitting of the Senate, motions for leave to introduce bills, the presentation of bills without the leave of the Senate first obtained, public business. Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We intend to debate today, sir, the Transport Authority Validation and Indemnity Act of 2018. This bill, Mr. President, seeks to validate and confirm the imposition and collection of fees by the Transport Authority in good faith and inadvertent as to their being unlawful during the period of December 1, 1989 to December 8, 2015, to indemnify the government and the Transportation Authority and every person acting on behalf of the government or Transport Authority from liability acting on these grounds and for connected matters. So, President, the Transport Authority Act of 1987 provides that the authority may, in carrying out its functions, charge and collect such fees as may be prescribed. Section 18.1 provides that the Minister may make regulations generally for the giving effect to the provisions of this Act, and without prejudice to the generality of the foregoing, may, among other things, make regulations for prescribing fees. Since December of 1989, Mr. President, the Transport Authority has been collecting fees from operators of public passenger vehicles to cover expenses connecting to regulating and monitoring responsibilities of the authority. In the absence of legislative authority for such collection, the Transport Authority has acted in good faith. Mr. President, in order to correct this anomaly and protect any person who has acted on these grounds in good faith, this bill was drafted, has gone through the process, has been passed without objection in the Honorable House of Representatives and is now before this Honorable Senate. Mr. President, I must hasten to inform the Senate that the required regulations entitled the Transport Authority Fees Regulations 2015 were in fact gazetted on December 8, 2015 to bring the Transport Authority's activities in line with the provisions of the Transport Authority Act and in anticipation of the finalization of this bill to indemnify authority. So, President, this bill therefore contains two provisions with the objective of correcting the anomaly that has been outstanding for so long and to indemnify the officers of the authority who are collecting the said fees before the regulations were gazetted. I therefore now invite other members of the Senate to make their contributions to this bill and commend it to the members for approval. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Minister Reid. Senator Binns, you may speak from a seat other than your own.
I am grateful to you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. President, we on this side certainly give our support to this bill, which seeks to validate acts done between 1989 and 2015. But you know, Mr. President, I am compelled to speak to the issue of governance, and I'm quite aware that this issue spans both administration, but it is still not an excuse in terms of how we handle and manage the affairs of the country. And when one considers, for example, the raft of legislation and other supporting documents we have to enhance governance in the public service, then we can't help but to ask that going forward, whichever government ensures that we're in full compliance. So if you consider, for example, the corporate governance framework, which sets out how we should be operating, if you consider the PBMA, the Public Body Management and Accountability Act, if you consider the FAA, all of these are in place so as to enhance our governance and the operation of our governance. And so matters like these should not be coming to the Parliament for us to approve. I am hopeful that going forward that we will see less and less and less of them. But I noticed that only this morning another was tabled for our approval. And so, you know, I'm calling upon not just board members and chairmen of boards, but also CEOs, also permanent secretaries, to ensure that we do what is required by law, to ensure that we do not 10 or 15 or even 2 years later come to the Parliament seeking to validate acts. And I must tell you, because I do have very detailed information about the operations of Transport Authority, and I know how the Transport Authority operates, and Lord knows that their task is quite one that I'm not jealous about. But when one considers the fees that are imposed on public passenger vehicles, then we have to ensure, and because of the culture, we have to ensure that we have the legislative framework to give support to this power or to this act. And so, notwithstanding my comments, which really call for better governance, we on this side give our full support. Mr. President, I thank you.
Thank you, Senator Bin. Senator Knight.
Thank you, President. I really hope that this will be the last validating bill that we have. Save for the one that was tabled today. Let me tell you, you can hound people to pay the taxes, to pay fees, and once you're hounding them, seizing the vehicles, locking them up, you have absolutely no authority to do it. It is disgusting. And I hasten to say that I too recognize that this is from 1989. And during that period, I was a member of the cabinet. But I wouldn't know that. And that's absolving myself. So the persons who are responsible to ensure that the necessary authority is there ought to do so. And the minister who is going to be acting under the provisions of any statute must satisfy him or herself that he or she has the legislative authority to do it. And I wonder how many PPV operators have been charged operating without paying your fees. And if charged, fined. And if charged and fined, prevented from operating. And if prevented from operating, prevented from earning a living. And if prevented from earning a living, prevented from providing for the families. And how many children have suffered as a result? And we just come here this morning, easy as Sunday morning, and we just say, okay, we're validating it. It was done in good faith. But people suffered as a result of that action. And I speak therefore in condemnation of a system that allows this. It's terrible. and I put something in place that it never happens again. Because, you know, if we validate from the day I entered this parliament until today, almost 30 years ago. We've been validating and validating. So it gives, it makes me feel as if there's a don't care attitude. I don't care whether you do it properly or not. Because in the end, all we have to do is to draft some bill, and the legislators, both lower and upper house, will just say yes. We agree. And people who have suffered not one single moment of contemplation of their misery, whilst inefficiency prevailed. You don't need my vote. You don't need my vote. And I'm not going to ask for a divide. But if it was a situation just to set an example, I would vote against it. And mind you, I want to make it pellucid that I am not, because you really know I'm the messenger. I am not attacking the messenger, because as I earlier said, I was a part of a ministerial group that failed to have done what ought to have been done. I'm just speaking now as an old man who vexed about these kinds of things and want us to change. Simple.
Thank you, Senator Knight. Thank you, Senator Bram. You may speak from a seat other than your own.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to add, I know that this is a long-standing situation. This particular matter is from 1989, and it shows the difficulties that plagues the system. But I was thinking that for the future, when we do a validating piece of legislation, if we have to do it, and it is possible that while there was no law, some citizen may have been hurt during that time, that the validating legislation could put in place compensating provisions for those who may have been hurt when there was no law. And in terms of, I note that there is at least one, I think for next week, sometime after that, or maybe there will be others, notwithstanding what Senator Knight urged, that if we know that there are persons who would have been arrested or property be taken care of, it is not sufficient simply to just validate the acts when we know that persons were hurt financially or otherwise, Mr. President. And I would put that on the table for going forward. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Thank you very much.
Permission to speak.
Senator Brown, Senator Longway, you may speak from a seat other than your own.
Thank you. I did not come prepared to speak, but I felt inspired to by Senator Knight's presentation. But I also recognize, Senator Knight, that, and I would hope that we also see the context that we are relatively a young democracy, a young developing nation. And in the context of comparison, and a lot of times we want to compare ourselves to organizations and bodies and countries that have been in existence in respect to how relative it is to us for a much longer time. And systems that are much tried and more proven. And I appreciate, Senator Graham, that You highlight that with this bill, persons with the validation of it, persons who probably were injured and were affected, could also seek compensation that may become now possible. But I also would want for us to remain on the positive side, that Jamaica is developing, Jamaica is growing, and we are to learn from our mistakes, try to prevent such from happening, but appreciate our journey so far. And Senator Knight, I thank you for your contribution to that too. Thank you. And I so support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much, members, for your contribution. And I think on both sides I've noted those comments, and I think we all commit ourselves to good governance. We're in the middle of the public sector reform, so we can drive greater efficiency and make sure that going forward collectively, we do our endeavor best to ensure there's no repeat that would cause these validation bills to persist. With that said, Mr. President, I now ask for the second reading of the bill.
Thank you. The question is that the bill be read for a second time. In favor? Against?
A bill entitled An Act to Validate and Confirm the Imposition and Collection of Fees by the Transport Authority in good faith and inadvertent as to their being unlawful during the period commencing on the 1st day of December 1989 and ending on the 8th day of December 2015, to indemnify the government and the Transport Authority and every person acting on behalf of the government of the Transport or the Transport Authority from liability in relation thereto, and for connected matters, read a second time.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The Senate will now resolve itself into a committee of the whole Senate to consider the bill clause by clause. Thank you very much. I put clause 1 of the bill. Those in favor? Against? Ayes have it. I put clause 2 of the bill. Those in favor? Against? Ayes have it.
Minister, having regard to the contributions made in the debate, could you give an undertaking to cause Cabinet to consider any compensatory provision in any future bill which is a validating, bill, to give consideration, not to, I can't go further than that, but and where persons have been prosecuted, that there be some provision which removes whatever stigma may be and have been attached to the prosecution.
I hear Senator Knight. I'm thinking equally of the provision of the public defender that citizens are quite free to seek redress through that mechanism. But certainly, as you say, it's a matter I can bring to Cabinet's attention and for us to be guided by virtue of those considerations.
Thank you very much, Senator Knight and Reid. I put the preamble. Those in favor? Against? Ayes have it. I put the title and enacting clause. Those in favor? Against? The ayes have it. The question that I do report the bill as having passed committee stage without amendment. Those in favor? Against? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. I do report the bill as having passed committee stage without amendment.
Mr. President, I now ask that the bill be read a third time.
That the bill be read a third time. Those in favor? Against?
A bill entitled An Act to Validate and Confirm the Imposition and Collection of Fees by the Transport Authority in good faith and inadvertent as to their being unlawful during the period commencing on the 1st day of December 1989 and ending on the 8th day of December 2015 to indemnify the government and the Transport Authority and every person acting on behalf of the government or the Transport Authority from liability in relation thereto and for connected matters, read a third time and passed.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Minister?
Thank you, Mr. President and members, for your participation today for this short sitting. It's not our intention to do any further business today, so I'd like to move for the adjournment of the sitting of the Senate for a date to be fixed.
Thank you very much. The question is that the Senate now be adjourned for a date to be fixed. Those in favor? Against? Ayes have it. The Senate now stands adjourned.
People have it to say, well, because you have a disability, you probably not have much sense.
Some people look for me and tell me that it's your handicap and they not say what's wrong with me. And
some of them used to laugh at me and make fun of me and all that.
People just make it look like some of the students that have disability cannot do anything.
Monday evening that I'm going home, I go on the bus and I give the driver my fare. I show him my ID. He said, what about not ID this? I show me. I'm saying, government give me my ID to show me that I must pay the $80 on the bus. And he said, no, you need to pay the full amount.
If you look at them, they don't look special, but after having them in your company for 2 to 5 minutes, you will realize just how challenging it is, and this work calls for a whole lot of patience and love.
They have challenges with their abilities, with their intellect. They have challenges with communication. They have challenges with socialization. They live in an other adaptive skill.
People used to call me handicap boy, and I cry so many times, back and forth, going to school.
They need to be included, they need to achieve, they need to enjoy, they need to be well. Intellectual disability is not a mental illness.
Persons with intellectual disabilities have a right, and they want to contribute to the society in general.
I wanted us show me the ropes, I will complete it.
Don't bother feel say the person with a disability cannot help themselves around other people.
Persons with intellectual disabilities are excellent workers if given the opportunity.
I'm an all working man, and they say when an all working man is at the workplace, they don't want to lose. Then he doing best and do good in the job.
It's like I'm the star here. Yeah, I'm the star here. So right now,